It's time for you and I to perform a bulk Active Directory import of hundreds of user accounts. Think of how valuable this would be as opposed to creating one at a time in the graphical user interface. By the way, if you're paid by the hour, that's definitely the way to go. Most of us aren't though, so let's get efficient. This is a hands-on lab nugget, so if you have an opportunity, launch it now to follow along. Inside of your hands-on lab, launch into DC Nug 1. We're going to spend all of our time here. The first thing, before we start bulk manipulating our accounts, the first thing I really want to show you is a nice feature on searching the Active Directory, because think about it. You may want to quickly see who's disabled or who's locked out, or who hasn't been logging in for a long time. This is known as an inactive account. And we're going to go to PowerShell, of course, in order to get this done. So launch the PowerShell applet on your system right now. We have at our disposal in PowerShell such a handy commandlet called search-ad account. And what we can use this for is to find things that might interest us. Like, look at this. I'll do search AD account, and then I'll look for any accounts that are disabled. Let me tab because there's an account expired. There's an account expiring soon. There's an account that's inactive. We'll use that in a moment. So let's look at all of the accounts that are disabled inside of our Active Directory. You press carriage return and we see 3 of them by default. We see this KRBTGT account. What in the world is going on with this account? We see the guest account. It's disabled by default. And then if we scroll, we see the default user account inside of Active Directory. So these accounts are currently sitting disabled in the Active Directory. What's going on with this account? Let's fire up Active Directory users and computers and try and find that account. So I'll go to Tools inside of Server Manager, Active Directory users and computers, and we see something super interesting. The output there told me that that account was in the users group, but I don't see it. There's the default account that's disabled. There's the guest account that's disabled. There's our testj user. Where is that third disabled account? Well, they're not showing us that special account by default, and that's annoying to me. Let's make sure we can see everything. I'm going to go ahead and right-click here in Active Directory Users and Computers, and under View, I'm going to choose to see Advanced Features. This Advanced Features view would show us stuff that ordinarily would be hidden, and if I go into the Users container, there is that disabled account. This is an account that doesn't even have login privileges. It's a special account that the system uses, and if we expand the description, we can see it's the Key Distribution Center service account. So I just wanted to point out to you that there is this advanced view that can often be beneficial for us to see stuff that would ordinarily be hidden. So let's go back over to PowerShell, and this time what we'll do is, let me clear the screen, and what I want to do is show you the search commandlet again, and that was search AD account. So I'll tab autocomplete that. And this time what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at any of accounts that we would consider inactive. We will use the users only switch or parameter, and then we'll say we want to see the accounts that are inactive, and we need to provide a time span for what we would consider inactive. Let's say that we consider, 60 days not having logged in as an account that has gone stale on us or inactive. So you provide the time span and it will show you those accounts that have not logged in. It's no coincidence. It's those 3 disabled accounts that we just looked at. But that is a very, very handy way to see what we would consider an inactive Active Directory account. Now, what about the bulk creation of accounts, though? That's what we're really most interested here in this nugget. If you go to your File Explorer, you'll see that I've placed something in the root of your C drive. And that something is in a file I created for you, a folder called Supplemental Files. And inside there, we have this AD users CSV. Let's open that in Notepad and look what we have here. This is a simple comma-separated file that maybe I got from Human Resources. They have a database of our user accounts, and they've got the information like address information and phone number and email address and all that great stuff that we want inside of the Active Directory. Notice the very first line is critical, and I add this line from the CSV file that I get from Human Resources. It's where we're going to map those to for values in our Active Directory. We know there's that important SAM account name value, for instance, that we're going to be providing inside of the Active Directory. So this file is key in order to do our bulk creation. Now, there are command line tools that you could use in order to do this. Let me show you those. So let's do a search on CMD to launch a command prompt. And there are two utilities you could use to get this done. The first is called CSVDE, how appropriately named. And this tool will allow you to export as a comma-separated file the Active Directory, or import an Active Directory structure, or accounts, I should say, from the CSV file. Now, the problem with the CSVDE utility is it's read-only. So a more powerful tool, let me clear the screen, a more powerful tool would be the LDIFDE. So that's LDIFDE, and this has even more power associated with it because, as I said, you could manipulate things with this approach. But while these utilities are great, and you should certainly know of them, CSVDE and LDIFDE, we want to play with the power of PowerShell in order to get this done. So go back to your File Explorer, and in that supplemental files folder, I have this bulk create.txt file, and inside this file, I've got this great import CSV commandlet and the syntax we need for this PowerShell version. So let's drag down and let's copy those two lines. Notice I'm copying the command itself and a carriage return when I do that copy technique. So we'll close this up. I'll close this up and we'll go back over to PowerShell. And what we're going to do is right-click your mouse in order to paste that command in. And you can see it's currently running. Now, what's going on in this command? Well, notice we use this import CSV commandlet, and we give the location of the CSV file, and then we do a pipe, and then we do a for each statement, and we're going to do for every one of those entries, we're going to run the new AD user command that we know and love, and we're going to provide all those values like SAM account value, employee ID, surname, and notice we're sticking them in to the appropriate fields using a variable, and the contents of that variable, of course, is in the CSV file. So this is going to work great. And by the way, notice one of the values that we are providing here is the path of where to place those user accounts. And I chose the default container with the common name of users inside our nuggetlab.com domain. Something else you might notice is we're setting the password to our password for all of those accounts. Now, it's obviously had enough time to complete. I just hit the carriage return to get us back to the prompt, and it has returned us to the PowerShell prompt with no error. That's a really good sign. If I launch Active Directory users and computers, here's that users container. Here's all those user accounts we had at that point. If I right-click and I refresh, sure enough, we have hundreds of user accounts that have been created, and these user accounts contain all of those properties that were in the CSV file. As you might guess, inside your supplemental files, I have placed those CSV and that text file that gives you the syntax for that nice little script that does the importing through that CSV. So in this nugget, we took a look at two great capabilities: the ability to search Active Directory accounts with PowerShell, the ability to do bulk importing of accounts and even exporting of accounts with the old school CSVDE or LDIFDE, and the amazingly powerful, aptly named PowerShell. I hope you found this nugget informative, and I'd like to thank you for viewing.